Hey y'all. Okay, so today I'm gonna tell you about my day. I had a great day. The weather was perfection, 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 perfection. Wow. I did a video showing you Creve Coeur. They had a bunch of sailboats out there later in the day. Absolutely stunning. Mother Nature was gonna throw down, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going there anyway. It's beautiful there. As I said before, Creve Coeur is one of the largest natural lakes in Missouri. Okay. And we have a massive, massive monstrosity of a lake called Lake of the Ozarks. And it looks like a dragon. Okay. If you look at it on the map, and that is, believe it or not, as ginormous as it is man-made. It is very much man-made, but you wouldn't really know that unless somebody told you because it looks 100% natural. It's just great. So I want to talk to you about something different today. We're going to do something different. Oh, let me talk to you too about, I'm going to talk to you about safety on the water, but I also want to talk to you about, I went to St. Charles, Missouri, which is totally, if you haven't been, and you live in Missouri or you plan to go to Missouri, come to Missouri, St. Charles is the cutest little town. And each time I've gone there, which hasn't been that many times, but I've been very impressed with it because it's cute. It's so freaking cute. It's got, I guess we were at the downtown area, and there's lots of boutiques and shops and souvenir shops. And there's just so many cute, adorable shops, restaurants, bars, but it's not trashy. It's just very cute. And the cobblestone streets, I mean, come on, that's just very cute. Um, and there was one time when I went there, I saw, what was it? Oh, it was a courthouse from the 1800s, I believe. And it's a one room type of, almost like a log cabin. It is a log cabin. And it's still standing to this day. And to think that that was actually a courthouse, and it's a one room log cabin. What? It's still standing to this day. And it's just, you know, St. Charles has its own cute little personality. It just has, excuse me, it's got the cutest personality. It's so quirky and cute, and I absolutely love it. And I told my friend today, I said I would not mind living here at all. It's so adorable. I would not have a problem living here. This is so cool. And we also went to oh, I forget what it's called. They've got boats in there, and it's right on the Missouri River in St. Charles. Huge building that's got boats in it. So it's a boathouse type of deal, and it's really, really nice, right on the river. And it's just really pretty out there. I love it. I love it. Just had a good time. So I'm showing you a picture. We're going to talk about water safety and what to do, what not to do, and that kind of thing. I've always been physical since I was little. I've done hiking, kayaking, canoeing. I'm not into canoeing because canoes can flip on a dime. Now, if you are like my friend, oh, his name is Kevin Wild, I think. He hasn't done a video in a super long time. Kevin Wild. Honey, I'm not saying he hasn't flipped his kayak. His canoe, he has. It happens. It happens. It just happens sometimes. But he rarely flips it, I'm sure, because his grandpa took him under his wings when he was little and taught him how to canoe, how to live off the land, how to camp, how to build a fire. You name it, Grandpa taught him, took him under his wings, so to speak. And if there's ever anybody that you want to go on a canoe trip, he is your man. Okay? He'll teach you the ropes because his grandpa taught him the ropes, and he's just on the ball. And the quality of his nature videos with him canoeing is just fabulous. And I'm gonna tell you something else. One of the things that is so hard to do, and when women and guys do it, my hat goes off to y'all, because this child right here, no. Some people call it portaging. Some people I can't talk. Some people call it portaging. So it's just in a personal preference of how you want to word it. Okay, so I'll explain what portaging is. If you have a map, there's an area that you want to visit really badly and you want to check it out. You look at the map. Depending on the area, you will see lakes there's a whole series of lakes, but they're separate. They're all divided by land. So in order for you to go across this lake and go to the next lake, you have to portage or portage. Like I said, depends on how you want to pronounce it. So you basically, if you're canoeing like Kevin does, you hoist that sucker. You go across your first lake, you take the canoe, you hoist it up, and the yoke is what you rest on your shoulders when you have your canoe upside down, and you trudge across the trail. Okay, because there's a special path that you follow for people who are doing this portaging. And then you get to your next lake, and then you go across that lake, and then you portage again. And you do this over and over and over again. And oh my God, the physical strength and stamina, stamina and agility that you have to do that and not get fatigued. Oh my God. I'm impressed with that. Would I want to do it? No, I couldn't do it anyway. Because I have physical issues, as you guys know. I could never do that. I couldn't do it when I was young. Well, no, I couldn't have did it when I was young, really. I don't know, maybe. But it's a ton of work. It's a ton of work and a ton of walking. And in the summer, he's Canadian, and there's black flies everywhere and mosquitoes everywhere and snakes. And I don't know if they have a problem with ticks like we do in the States, but honey, no, 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 no. So yeah, my experience in the past is more with kayaking instead of canoe, although I've done canoe before. And I've also done hiking in the mountains. There was a mountain called Sleeping Bear, I think, Sleeping Giant, something. I think it's called Sleeping Giant. And it's in Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken. I'm relying on memory. This is scary. And I've hiked it, and wow. I was doing this with all of us were girls that were camping overnight for however long the camp lasted. And we did a hike up the mountain, and I disappeared without saying anything to anyone. And everyone was like, "Where'd she go? Where'd she go? Where the heck did she go?" I went straight to my cabin, hopped into bed, and that's all she wrote. I didn't tell anybody anything. I was so fatigued, so fatigued. And that's it. I tapped out, and nobody knew where I was because I just disappeared. And then I told them, I said, "I'm sorry to disappear, but I am extremely exhausted." And then found out later, way later, 2006, I was officially diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And the only reason I was officially diagnosed, because a lot of people don't get diagnosed quickly. I have medical background, I have medical training, and I know to document, document, document. My God, that was drilled in our head. Okay. So I started to make a diary, a medical diary, so to speak, of my pain. I rated it on a scale of 1 to 10, and I rated it, described it as burning or stinging or just severe aching. And I would rate it on a 10 scale, 1 being the least amount of pain, 10 being the most amount of pain. Anyway, so because I did all of that, I was diagnosed quicker than, a person who their doctor may not take them as seriously, and they try to say that it's psychosomatic. Psychosomatic my ass. Okay? Psychosomatic means it's all in your head. Take an aspirin and lay down for a while and you'll be fine. And my doctors knew better than to try that with me. Probably because A, they knew I had medical training. B, I know my body like the back of my hand. And C, I chronicled my pain. So, it went really well for me, but it doesn't go that well for everybody. Anyway, move right along. I kind of went off on a little tangent there. But so I had chronic fatigue even way back then, and I might have been a young teenager at that point, maybe, I'm guessing, because it was such a long time ago. And climbing that mountain just wore me slick. Oh my God. So, like, your body forgets that you're disabled. Your brain forgets. And your brain's like, ooh, climb a mountain. Ooh, I'm going to do that. And my body goes, oh, yeah? You think you're going to do that? Good luck. Good luck. So anyway, I'm going to show you, we're going to talk about do's and don'ts on the water. I'm not a, professional by any means, but I've learned a lot over the years, and I want to just share these with you. So if you look at this picture, so silly. What was I doing? Okay, this is a kayak, obviously. This is a tandem kayak, obviously. And I will tell you, here's my personal advice on going tandem with someone in a watercraft. My strong advice to you is, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Unless you know the person that you're kayaking with and you know them very, very, very well. You guys have a lot of years under your belt. Otherwise, no. I did it once. And I hope to God I never do that again. I never. But the caveat is the person I went with has symptomology of borderline personality disorder and insecurity and narcissism, and I checked out all the symptoms, and I'm like, oh my God, the only thing missing is his picture in all these descriptions. And he's a know-it-all. He ain't never kayaked a day in his life, but by God, he's an expert. Okay. And it was the worst 4 hours of my existence. Never again. He pissed me off so bad. We went with a group of people back in the day. He pissed me off so bad. I said, I will get out of this boat and I will swim to shore. If you think I'm kidding, try me, because I've had enough of your mouth. So tandem is called, what's the name for that? Called a divorce boat or something, divorce kayak. I forget what the hell the term is, but I know the word divorce is in there. Meaning, if you do tandem with the wrong person, two of y'all in the same craft, just in this case, the same kayak. Oh God, if you're with a know-it-all, God help you. Okay. One of the things that these people are doing wrong, and I'm not pointing it out to be a horse's ass. I'm just saying, if you ever do, you're brave, and you ever do tandem, the person in the back mimics the person in the front so far as paddling, right? So if the person in the front paddles to the left, you paddle the same time. They paddle to the right, you paddle to the right. Left, right, left, right, left, right. You mimic. So you're going to mirror the paddling of the person in the front. You're going to mirror that. These two people are not mirroring. They're just doing their own individual thing, all lopsy-do, and that's not the correct way to do it. Okay? Some people don't know any better. They don't understand how this works. So I'm going to show you. This is the way. This is you mirror the person in the front. Tandem, I would advise that you don't do it. I mean, if you're with somebody who knows how to work with other people instead of against them, and they don't have a mental disorder. They are healthy in the head, and they have experience or they don't have experience. Either way, they're willing to work with you as a team, then you good. But if not, that's all I can say about that. Okay. Another thing, and I'm going to show you some experts, my buddies online who are experts on the water. If you ever want to know anything about kayaking, excuse me, that would throw up my voice right now. Ken Whiting, Whiting. He is Canadian, and he's an instructor with, I want to say, the American Canoe Association, but they also do kayaks as well. He's an instructor with them. He's an expert on safety. He has done a Lake Superior trip single-handedly by himself in a kayak camping in Lake Superior by himself for several days. You can actually watch that on YouTube. Let me tell you, my hat goes off to him. My hat goes off to him because, honey, Lake Superior is called a lake. It behaves like an ocean. Don't you even think it doesn't. It behaves like an ocean. Okay? I think the deepest part is 1,300 feet. Okay? It is massive. It is volatile and can go from super calm to maniacal. And his channel, he's got two channels. One is Paddle TV with Ken Whiting. It's called Paddle TV, but it features him giving you every tip you could ever want. And the other one where he's on Lake Superior, and if you're into nature and you're into watercrafts, you're into kayaking, you really want to see Ken Whiting, what is it called? Ken Whiting Adventures. And you will see him battle Lake Superior single-handedly. And there are times when he is anxious. And he's an expert. Okay? You don't ever want to get too full of yourself. And you don't ever want to, oh, I got all these years experience and oh, no. Mother Nature could flip on a dime. And she doesn't really care about your experience. She will pick you up and toss you like you're a piece of paper. She'll give a damn about your trophies. You were a lifeguard since high school. That's totally irrelevant. How many muscles you have. You work out in the gym every day. Oh, look. No, that's irrelevant. Okay. Even though he's an expert, he did Lake Superior by himself for several days, but he also has don't quote me, I want to say it's a Garmin, which is, it operates not on the internet, because obviously wherever you go, you're not going to have access to the internet. It operates on satellite. And if you ever have an emergency, you press your emergency button on it and it will send people to your location to help you. He had that. I don't know if he has flares. And I don't know if flares would work on the water, to be quite honest. But he does have something else. He's got a professional kayak. I think it's a PG or P&G. I can't remember. PG Scorpio or something. I can't remember the name of the kayak, but it's really, really long. When you're dealing with ocean type environment, you want the longest kayak you can find, because the longer the better. It cuts through the water better. You get better speed. It is better for traveling long distances. The longer the better. I know of a guy whose kayak is 18 feet, because he's gone on the Missouri River plenty of times, and he wanted the longest thing he could find, and it's 18 feet long. Okay, the longer the better. The one where Ken is on Lake Superior, I'm not sure the length of it. It might be 18 feet or something. I'm not sure, but I don't know, but he's got a professional type kayak because, again, it's called a lake, but it behaves exactly like an ocean, and it'll rip you up when the winds are blowing and the water's volatile. mm, you know, it's yeah, and there are times, and he's an expert. He said there will be times if you decide to take a trip, a kayak trip, a camping trip, kayak camping. Um, there will be times where you're stuck at the camp because the water is insane. It's got white caps and it's aggressive and violent, and you gonna be stranded until the weather calms down. He also said something super crucial, which is kayaking is benign. Anyone could do it. It's not hard to do. You have to learn the proper skills so you can use the proper strength, and your strength comes from your core. It does not come from your arms. It comes from your core. So every time you paddle, you twist your core. And with practice, you'll get better and better and better at that. The reason you don't want to use your arms only is because your arms don't really have a whole lot of strength to them. Your core, however, has a lot of strength to it. So you make sure that you use your core every time you paddle. Always wear a life jacket. I do not care if you're on a little pond in a kayak. I don't care. You should always, always, always wear a life jacket. And that ties back to, it's benign. Kayaking is benign. It is not hard. It is not complicated. It can be complicated depending on the conditions. But, and I've experienced this, he said, it's easy to do. It's not really hard. It's not complicated. But when things change, they can change fast. And I've experienced that a couple of times. One time I went on a float trip with friends, a good ways back. And there was a section, it's hard to describe, but there was a section of the river that along the shoreline, it's super skinny. And I didn't want to get sucked into that. I wanted to stay on the main part of the river, but for some reason, whenever there's a skinny, narrow part where the water is going to be forceful there if there's strong current, because water goes to the path of least resistance. So you're going to have some powerful pulling if there's some strong current, and I got sucked into the narrow part, and I didn't want to get sucked into the narrow part, and I made a mistake, and I'll tell you what my mistake was. I took my leg out of the kayak. That's a no-no. You don't do that. Okay. I learned, I was schooled afterwards. Don't think I wasn't. She was real nice about it, but she said you keep your hands and feet inside the boat. I'm like, yeah, I will do this from now on. But the current was so strong, and I took my leg out of the kayak to try to pull myself out of the spot I was in. You don't do that. The force of the current was so powerful, it was trying to force my leg underneath the kayak, which could have broken my leg. Water is the most powerful thing ever. And I realized that the water was forcing my leg in such an abnormal position that I quit doing that, and I put my leg back in the kayak. Okay, you keep your hands and your legs, your limbs inside the freaking kayak. Okay, so when things happen, they can happen very, very, very fast. I have jumped in people's world on YouTube. Yes, I have. I know I'm quiet and shy and all that. Yeah, right. Anyway, I've told people you're not setting a good example if you are boating without a life jacket. I'm out, and I jump off their channel. I'm trying to give you something to think about, because people drown every single year, and a lot of it is preventable. I don't care if you have 24 karat gold solid gold trophies for that's how great you swim. It doesn't matter. People drown all the time. All the time. So things can happen extremely fast. Always wear a life jacket. Make sure you don't go if the weather is going to be too rough. The water. Make sure you learn how to read the water. Read the water. Make sure there's no whitecaps. There's no aggressive waves. Make sure that a storm isn't coming. Look up above. Are the clouds getting dark? Is it? You got to pay attention to your environment, because if you don't, that could be the difference between life or death. Okay. There was another situation where I was I was kayaking, and the weather was great. It was beautiful. The sun was out. Everything was splendid. And then it got after so many hours, all of a sudden the sky got black. And I'm staring at the sky going, that's not good. And I went ahead and immediately started looking for shelter. And I was going to take this was a while back. I was going to take my kayak, flip it over, and so water doesn't get in the cockpit, because it's a nightmare trying to get the water out. Believe me, trust me, it's a nightmare. You want to prevent that, right? Flip your boat upside down and look for shelter. That's what I started doing. You don't want to wait until everything pops off and then go, oh crap, what do I do now? You don't want to do that. You want to stay alert at all times. Stay alert for wildlife. Stay alert for bears. Stay alert for snakes. Just stay alert. Look for rocks in the water. Look for twigs in the water. There are root wads that can suck you in. If you fall over and you get sucked into that, it's a tree root wad. You don't want to get sucked into that, because it lets all the little things go through and it pins all the big things. You're a big thing compared to some of the things that are in the water. And you may not be able to get out of there. The water will pin you. The force of the water is no joke. It is nothing to play with. It is nothing to get cocky and arrogant about. I've been doing this ever since I was born, ever since I came out of my mama. It don't matter, honey. Things can change on a dime. And the other expert, like I said, Ken Whiting Adventures, please check him out. Check out the Lake Superior one. In fact, I know I can find it, and I'll put the link in the description. I don't want to make this video too long. Kevin Wild also has amazing nature videos. I've talked about him before. He's Canadian also. Dan from Headwaters something. Dan. Headwaters Kayak. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. But I will refer you to all of them, because all of them are experts on the water, and they will give you excellent tips in case you ever decide, hey, I'm curious about kayaking or canoeing and I want to give it a try. Kevin Wild is pretty much an expert on canoeing. He's been doing it since he's knee-high to a grasshopper. Okay. Dan from Headwaters. Oh, I have to look it up. I can't think of it right now. He's an expert on water. His mom is an expert on water. They both teach skills on the water. They're amazing, and they give you tons and tons and tons of free advice on YouTube. And free is affordable, okay? Especially in this day and age. What's the other person? Kevin Wild, Dan from Headwaters, and Ken Whiting. So Ken Whiting has Paddle TV, and he also has Ken Whiting Adventures. He's been, I want to say, in the Dominican Republic. He's been to different countries around the world. I mean, amazing. Okay, so check those folks out, and the Lake Superior one. Oh my God. Wow. And one thing I love about all of them, every single one of them, none of them are arrogant. None of them are full of themselves. I got all this skill and I'm amazing and nature's not going to mess with me. None of them have that attitude, because that attitude will get you killed. It will literally get you killed. Things change fast. And when they do, you have to have the skill to know what to do so that you don't panic, because panic causes death. you don't want this, okay? You want to dress for the environment. You want to always wear a life jacket. You want to stay alert, pay attention to what's in the water, learn to read the water. And also another thing about Ken is he's a whitewater expert. So if you ever do kayaking and you're like, I think I want to jazz things up a little bit, I think I want to try whitewater, he's your man. He's your man. He's just, all of these guys are just so knowledgeable. So anyway, oh, and another thing that happened to me, I'll just tell you this real quick. Um, Things happen fast. And one thing that Dan said from Headwaters is he said, the time that you're the most likely to fall out of your kayak is when you're getting in your boat or getting out of your boat. And he is ding, 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 correct. Can you see where I'm going with this? So I'll make it real quick. I was getting in the kayak and I thought everything was cool. I'm not used to that much, at that time. I wasn't used to that much wave activity on that particular leg. It's wobbly. Makes your boat wobbly. Regardless of how great you're connected with the boat, it's wobbly as hell. And a wave hit me just right and my boat flipped so fast. You don't have time to be scared or get nervous. You ain't got time. I wasn't in super deep water, so that was good. But it happened on a dime. So yeah, you have to stay alert at all times. You just never know. So anyway, I just want to do something refreshingly different. I love you guys. Take care and stay safe on the water. Bye.